Alright, so let's go ahead and continue on creating more of the accessories for our character. But before we do that, remember I was telling you guys about when I turn on the hair, it looks like some parts of it look like it's missing, but they are actually there. And the reason why it looks like the hair is not showing up is because if you guys recall our low poly version here, when we were retopologizing, we have set our object data. If you guys go to object properties here, and if you guys go to the viewport display, we have set the display to show in the front. That way when we are retopologizing, it's not sinking in onto the low poly mesh. So now we just need to make sure that we turn off in front now. All right, just turn that off. And so now when we have our hair, it's showing. Now it's showing, all right? And remember when we created our elements here, we have created our elements from our low poly mesh. So we need to go to each of the elements that we have and go to the viewport display and turn off in front. All right, so just go to each of these and turn off in front, each of your elements. And also the pants, and there you go. So everything should be fine now. Okay, great. All right. Let's continue on creating the outfit for our character. Let's create the boots here. And it looks like for the boots, for the barbarian boots, we do have fur also. And if you look here at Google, you just type in barbarian boots, a lot of the boots for barbarians, they do have fur in them just to keep them warm, okay? And you see some that has the straps, and I think this is kind of similar to this where we have like straps over it. But right now we're just going to do the basic shape of the boots, and then we are going to also add like the fur area. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do that for now. So we are going to once again make a copy of our original low poly version here. Shift D to make a copy and rename it. I'm gonna call this boots. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the material and remove that material. And for this one, I'm just gonna go Shift H to isolate it. Okay, and let's go to our sculpt mode. Go to the lasso mask and turn on symmetry. All right, so let's go and think about where our boots will end. So it's gonna be right here, and then it's gonna be slightly below the knees. Yeah, something like that. And then Control I to invert that. And let's go to mask, slice, and fill holes. Great. Now we go and remesh this. Start out with 4 would be fine, and just gonna remesh that and smooth it out, and use the inflate brush to just kind of inflate this up a bit. And I'm gonna use the scrape brush, just gonna scrape this and then smooth. And of course we gotta go to object mode and show all of our meshes again. Alt H to show everything except for we don't need the 8 heads to show. So I think for the 8 heads, I'm gonna put them in a brand new collection. So I'm just gonna create a new collection, and the 9 heads is gonna be in that collection, so that I'm gonna just hide it. So that if I unhide everything, that's not gonna show. And also the high poly, I'm just gonna put it for now in the collection too. All right, that way if I press Alt H, this is still gonna be hidden. So that's why I put it in the new collection. All right, and I'm gonna go back to the boots. Where's the boots? There you go. So it's kinda not showing, so we have to go to our sculpt mode and bring that out. Bring down the intensity a bit. Yeah, it's too much. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring out the shape of the boots. And I'm gonna remesh that. Make sure it's showing. Also here. So thinking about, I think it's gonna end up to right here. Okay, so it's gonna be right below the knee. Yeah, that's where it's gonna be. And just gonna smooth it. Okay. And of course we want to smooth it further so we don't see any of the muscular shape of the calves or any toes. We don't want that to show, so smooth it, and then you could always inflate it again. I'm going to smooth this and inflate. Okay. And I also want to just go to object mode again and isolate. Okay, go to sculpt mode and go ahead and scrape this area. Alt H to show everything. Okay, great. Now, of course, we have to want to go ahead and add a little bit more of the shape for the boots. Yep. Maybe make this a little thicker. Yep. Make that a little thicker around here because he does have really thick boots. And also at the bottom, we really want to get rid of that arch. Thicken that up. Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and remesh that, and then I'm gonna go use the scrape brush to just quickly add some basic shape here. So like that, and of course this could be flattened out. And could make this down a bit, and this here and this there. Alright, so just something quick. Of course we're gonna go back and further shape this out, but you know, we just wanted something fast shape there. And we want to go ahead and just gonna add the fur already. So I'm gonna go to object mode, and for this one I'm just gonna go ahead and duplicate the boots, Shift D, and I'm gonna call this one fur boots. Okay, and Shift H to isolate that, and go to sculpt mode, and let's go ahead, and this is gonna be maybe where the fur is going to show a little bit. Control I to invert it, and I'm gonna go here, mask slice below host. There you go. And of course we could remesh this voxel size to 4 and remesh that. Remesh, there you go. Right, and use the inflate brush to inflate it. Object mode, Alt H to unhide everything, and now we have this. I'm gonna select that, go to sculpt, and quickly just make this a little thicker. Look a little bit like Santa Claus right now, but it's okay. We're going to, all we need is just make sure that we have something there to work with. And let's go ahead and kind of shape this out so that there's gonna be a little bit of fur going. Sharp, a little bit of shape of the fur, silhouette of the fur, and remesh that. Want to go ahead and do the voxel size to 3, remesh that again. Yeah, right now, as you could see, it's just gonna be completely symmetrical, but it's okay. We are just on the basic forms. And of course, you could always add a little bit of information here, so we could kind of see what we're working with. And probably based on what I see here, we could add a little more thickness to this, so it's a little fluffy, the fur. So yeah, this is the point of us like rating this, so we know exactly how much thicker we need it to be. All right, we gonna get the size going already. Right, something like that. Now let's go ahead and create the straps for the boots here. Yeah, with the boots selected, and just go back to my sculpt mode. Before I add the straps, I want to just gonna fix this up a bit so it looks a little better. The shape, we want to have at least a decent shape here. We don't want to change it too much already. We want to kind of have the base mesh basic shape there already, because we are creating the straps that's going to go around the shoe. We want to kind of thicken this up a bit. Thicken that up. Thicken this area up. Okay, you could always smooth. Thicken that up. And maybe, there we go. And I think probably the feet here, I could make it a little shorter. I'm gonna turn on my symmetry here, and I'm just gonna push that in. Here you go. Alright, and then back on the boots. Wanna go to sculpt mode, and there you go. Kind of, I guess, widen it a little bit. Go. And back here, we want to flatten this out. Alright, so we kind of have something like this. Let me see from far away. Yeah, it's always good to look at things from far away also. Make sure that everything makes sense. And of course, could round this out a bit. And add a little bit of clay on top. Clay on top there. So that will add like a little thickness. Gonna crank up the intensity. Okay. And okay, so we want to make sure from the front that everything is great. Okay. I'm gonna smooth that out. And this is a little strange around here, so just gonna take your time with the basic shape, because once you have the strap there, it kind of takes onto the form of the overall shoe already. So you wanna definitely have that shape down where you don't have to make so much changes later. Alright, so I think the shoe here could be a little bit thicker, probably around the lower leg area. There you go. Taking that up. Okay. Looking all around. Maybe end this out a bit. Maybe you could add a little bit of volume around this area and remesh and smooth. Alright, so let's say we are ready for the strap, to add a strap on here. What we need to do is we need to make a copy of the boots. Let's go to object mode. Alright, so with our boot selected, let's shift D and make a copy of that. And let's go and rename right away. Gonna call this one straps. Actually, let's call it, yeah, straps underscore boots. Great. Now, let's go hit the tab key. Actually, let's go to our sculpt mode. And let's go to our mesh filter here. And make sure you are inflate. And we're going to inflate that down. So we inflate it down. If we inflate it up, we could kind of see it sticking out. If we drag our mouse to the left, it's going to inflate down. If we drag our mouse to the right, it makes it bigger. Alright. We drag our mouse to the left, it makes it smaller. So we want to make it smaller so that the boots that we made a copy of is just going to be inside the original boots, okay? And then we're going to sculpt our strap and make it come out of the original boots. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring inflated, like deflated. There you go. You don't want it too deflated, just enough so that it's kind of hiding, something like that. Alright, and then we could go to our clay strip brush and crank up the intensity for your clay strip. We could go ahead and start bringing out wherever you want the straps to show, basically. So sculpting, something like that. And I think for this one, I want to bring down my voxel size to 3 remesh. And go ahead and just gonna go around. Just thinking about where I want the straps to show and using the clay strip brush to just lay it all down. Yeah, I know I want some straps to show around here. So yeah, bring the straps, make it show here all around. So just a really rough sketch of where we want our straps to show. And maybe we want a little bit of that, maybe showing some more here, maybe here, maybe all around. And then maybe some more about here. This is what's good about this. You could be quite flexible with how you want the straps to show. Yeah, maybe here, and maybe it's going to show a little bit also here, and then going around, yeah, something like that. And I'm gonna bring down the voxel size a bit more and remesh that, and maybe add, that way we could make our straps come out a little bit more. So that means it's actually really showing from the silhouette there. Okay. Alright, now we could go to our draw sharp brush and we could kind of push this in. So let's say we just want to hide some of the straps, you could just do that. Push the clay in. And let's say we want a little bit of overlapping of straps, we could add a little clay on top, remesh that. And maybe go to the draw sharp and hold control on your keyboard as you draw with the draw sharp, so that will bring out the mesh, and remesh that. And there you go. And maybe for this one also, we could just kind of do this. There you go. So we kind of could see where it ends, where it starts, the strap. So by doing this, we kind of have a rough sketch of it already, how where we want our straps to go. So when we make a refined version, we know the exact location of the straps. Okay, so maybe push this in and maybe push this out. And later on, if you go back to this and you still want to make changes before you make a high-res version of this, this is what's good about this. You could always do that. You could change it while it's still in the low poly version. And maybe all around here. And maybe also here. Push this in. Push this in, and also this could kind of hide some of that. Just doing like a fast sketch, guys. And also here, push this in. So this is what's cool about this. It's like doing a little concepting. Of course, we already have our concept art there, which makes it a lot easier because we already know what we are looking for. But yeah, this definitely makes the process a lot easier for us, so that when it's time for us to create a much more detailed version, we don't have to spend so much time trying to get the right placement, because we kind of had it already to begin with. And of course, this is not going to be symmetrical. All right, the way we're going to do this is this here, we're going to have like an armor here, because of course we see that on this. We have an armor on this side and we don't have it on that side. And we could add some more asymmetrical forms later, but it's good that we have a little bit at least of the basic shape there. Okay. All right, and maybe this one here, we could kind of shape this out a little bit. There you go. And this here. Press dot on your numpad. So if it goes a little bit crazy when you're trying to navigate, having a hard time navigating, you can always do that. Num lock on your keyboard. And if I kind of zoom in, you see, you kind of see that there's like the mesh. It's a little, you can really see the mesh if I zoom out here. So the mesh underneath the original boots. So to fix that, you could always go here and go to clip start and bring it down the, go bring up or down the value, but yeah, we want it down a little bit. So now I set it to 3.73, so that works. And another thing is I kind of want to mask this area out. Just a little too curved, so I want to kind of fix that. Control I and mask this. So I'm not touching that, and just gonna move it. And then unmask and just go back again and kind of do this here. Push that in. There you go. All right, so we kind of have the straps there going. So that definitely adds a lot more details on our character. At the back, it looks a little too plain, so I kind of like how there's a little slant there. So I want to maybe create something like that here. So I'm gonna go select my straps for my boots and go to sculpt mode again, and I could go, maybe I could kind of add a little bit of slant here, something like that, and like that here, and just kind of remesh that, push that in, push this in, right. So we know we're gonna have a little bit of strap there. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least we have something. Right now it kind of looks like an eyesore because everything is symmetrical, but we're going to be fixing that in a few minutes. We're gonna fix that later. I mean, we're gonna be fixing that because when we add our once we add our armor on the other side, it's definitely not gonna be symmetrical anymore. And we could even scrape this up a bit. And maybe add, there you go. We kind of still want it to kind of make sense where we want our strap to end. Remeshed, and kind of cut that. All right. Okay, so looking a little better at the back. Okay, great. Okay, so we got a little bit more basic forms that we have added on the lower leg, on the shoe area, and we're going to continue on in the next video.